Sit up straight and tall. So this trunk from butt bones to crown of the head should stretch tall, straight, really to the base of the skull. You kind of balance this cranium on top of that stack of bones and muscles of the trunk. Now, gradually, as you get quieter here, it'll be easy to close the eyes, letting the top lid come to rest on the lower lid without any effort. If there is anything other than just the effort, the minimal effort to take that lid down, if the eyes don't wish to shut, if they fight, then let them stay open. But let that upper lid relax. So it's kind of like taking the eye as it is and relaxing. Take this spine as it is, upright, and maintain that, but make that skin, just like the eyelid, make the skin surface of the back soft, those nerves soft. Relax the ear. Similarly, the ear doesn't shut, but the tissues of the ear soften. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, all skin. So your trunk is stacked and upright. The senses soft, nerves soft. Join your palms. The palms are, we say folded, but joined in front. Legs are folded in front. Arms and legs quietly release away from the spine toward the feet, toward the hands. So you're not bowing forward, but you are releasing the nerve, the muscle, the skin. Start connecting your inhalation and exhalation to your body. Pelvis, abdomen, chest, throat, head. Exhaling outward, down the limbs, from the spine, spreading. From the skull, releasing. So in this way, creating softness, connection between the body, breath, senses, mind. We pay our homage to the teachers all the way back to the root teacher, Patanjali. And in so doing, we pay homage to our own practice. Bow your head. Release your hands. Quietly raise your head and open your eyes and stretch your legs. Okay. Stand. I'm going to tip this up just a little bit. So stand in Tadasana. These feet can be apart, Chaya. So let me say, today, the work of standing poses, I wish for you to be very cool, to stay cool. So with the feet apart gives you a chance to create open space here. So Chaya, a way to stand that is very cooling is like this. So you could, my hands are, I don't know, taking a little bit of support. So if you had a chair and I'm explaining coolness here in standing. Standing like this with support is cool. Anybody who wants to try? Okay, good. Now, the rest of you, you don't have to do this. You can keep those feet just hip width. Okay. This kind of pose, I would suggest for people with any difficulty with connectivity of the breath, smoothness, quietness of breath, quietness of, everything, muscle activity. Okay, so the rest of you are in a similar kind of position because you can manage that here. This is a way for you to work. Now, secondarily, just taking support against the wall makes things easier. Tailbone, buttocks against a wall. That also works to keep you cool, right? I'm talking about staying. Okay. So this begs the question, or creates the question, how do you stay in Urdhva Hastasana? So I don't know if you can see, I probably have to take the camera. Yeah, you can see my fingers now, okay? So my arms are up here, and what I've got is ropes to stabilize my hand. You may not have ropes. What you have is, well, in a pinch, you've got the wall. Face the wall, rest your forehead on the wall, stand upright. Now, if you want to really separate your feet, gay, cool feet, cool legs, as wide as you like. So Amelia's pulling on the door, that's cool. Also, Amelia, you should try the other way. Good, Chaya? Yes. Now, you can lift your wrists off the wall, fingertips on, wrists off, leaving your forehead on the wall, and stretch up. So your back body gets long and you're standing on your feet. So you're not pulling on anything, you're just fingertip pressure on the wall, head on the wall, and you standing, breathing, standing for meditation. Spread the shoulders. Make sure the finger pressure is even across all 10 digits. And release and come out. Okay. So I hope that stayed cool. Now, you can combine that with straps if there's a great deal of stiffness in the shoulders, but just that can be nice. And it's also possible, I know this is hard, I have to move the camera again. Where's your producer when you need her, him, her? There's the top of the door. So in Pune, I was at the back of the room, and there's this shelf for all the people's, cloaks and scarves and whatever, and it's overhead. So when I was standing in standing poses, I had this very convenient overhead thing, just like a wall, except it wasn't a wall. I could see to the front of the class. There's this big shelf. And so my hands were on the shelf like that. It's very stable. So next, Vrikshasana. So you either work with a wall or without, but everybody wants a bare floor. Everybody wants a bare floor, just a hardwood floor. So I flipped up the sticky mat here to expose bare floor. And I've got my buttocks against this pillar of the side of my rope wall. You could go with your back flat on any wall, buttocks touching. Okay. So you can start with the feet apart, but in order to do the pose, your feet have to join so that one foot comes underneath the center of you, and you pick up your right foot, put the right heel at the root of the left thigh. Now, if this is impossible because of knee or hip matters, you can put your foot on a chair like so. Okay. Let the arms go wide with fingertips touching the wall. And go to work cooling off. Let those shoulders release away from the skull, away from the spine, and down so your arms may come closer to the hips or farther away, wherever you get that smoothest release of the trapezius. And you stand straight on the leg as if it were not pushing against the floor so much as extending out from the hip down. Extend. So that extension creates space to breathe. Keep your trunk upright. If you work with balance, see that you stay cool. So this groin has to stay open. This groin, both groins, have to stay open. If the arms come up, maybe you keep Chaya or whoever, your thumbs touching the wall. So you get this element of stability, extra stability. You have more. You know, when you touch a wall, it's like putting earth next to your thumbs, right? Which is that stable element, earth. Let your arms go wide, cliff, so those elbows can straighten. And you can put your fingers against the wall, stretching your palms. Or thumbs, whatever keeps you straighter and expansive. And you want to come out now, exhaling, staying ventilated, and one thing at a time. Arms come down, legs come down. Stand there, feet apart in your cooling Tadasana. As wide apart as needed. You get the hang of it. It doesn't have to be a formal pose unless you're totally staying. Side two. So you don't stay compacting long, not the inner body. You compact the joints to be upright, but you don't compact this breathing space. Touch the wall, gain stability, right? Touching the wall with the fingers keeps your this extension from the skull out, the arms, smoother, so you don't bunch up. Take the arms up as you will when you're ready. Arms wide, elbows straightening. Keep that bent leg, left thigh. Keep that groin opening. And the right leg standing leg tall, so that groin opens. If you struggle with this opening, you wind up heating up. So the idea is, instead of fighting with it, arguing and gripping around it, see if you can make the limb straight and breathe. Expand. Take the arms up, if they will. Expand. Throat soft. So even here, the tension shouldn't bunch upward. Give the thumbs a ground if the tension is collecting upward. Here, upward means headward, not fingerward, even though your fingers are higher than your head. up in yogic body geography is to the head. So the head needs to quiet down even as the arms stretch. That extension is from the skull out. So you come out slowly, exhaling, one thing at a time, arms, then legs, or legs, then arms. It's just one thing at a time. Tadasana, feet apart. You have a chair, and it faces you on your sticky mat. It faces, so if I'm facing you, I'm gonna, just for our purposes, put it on your right side. Right side. And I'm gonna do Parshvottanasana in two phases, so watch. You need this shin coming, not bruising on the front of the chair, but getting right up close to it. That's your spacing that makes it easy to put your hands on the back of the chair. So you see this kind of a straight line from my heel to my head with the hands on the chair. So starting pose, after you get this set up here, is just stand up straight and cool off. So if you need another chair to earthify, to ground these hands, to help you get more ground, you know, yeah, and be there for a bit and be a longer stance. I can't see Gay, and I can't see anybody else's feet. Vicky, you're good. Okay, so this cools differently. That's kind of what to say. Here, keep that pelvis square. Keep that outer left hip rolling forward. You can do different things with the hands to get that sense of nothing bunching upward toward the head. So the arms can be straight around the hips or even back here. When there's a lot of tension in the skull, sometimes a more active downward pull is necessary. In any case, you're going to come forward to the chair seat, long spine, and then come to the chair back, long spine. Okay, and be here. Square the hips, square the shoulders, and see if you can use your inhalation. I should face you. See if you can use your inhalation to move these ribs away from the hips. So as if you're doing a kind of Uddiyana, Mulabandha, no, Mahamudra, sorry for all these words. Inhaling, lift your ribs up, lengthen the waist, and look forward. And now come to the chair seat and push down, lengthen that spine again, stretching the legs. And as you're able, send that chair forward, Parshvottanasana. Now, I should have said, but Chaya, can your head come to rest on the chair seat? If it can't, great. Stretch the arms. The fullest, the most cooling version of this pose has the head resting. So I did not mention getting extra props to support the head. So I will, just to keep you in the pose, just extend the back of the skull. Now go for the connectivity. Inhaling, exhaling. Stretch the legs. Make sure that pelvic floor, which goes from the right and left side of the pubis, is going straight back away from your head. And the two buttock bones pushed from the feet, stretched from the legs. Those two buttock bones pointing straight back. And you are breathing with some intention to open space in that trunk. Slowly come up. You have the support of the chair until those legs fully ground. And then it's easy to stand up without disturbance. Change sides or stand in Tadasana for a moment. And then change sides. Left foot forward, right to the chair. You see, you want that chair back close to you. So unless you have extra long arms, I mean, if you did have extra long arms, my chair on this way, if you did have extra long arms, it would actually give you the chance to come up taller, to lift this trunk up farther. So don't turn it into more forward and turn it into more upliftment, but keep your knee close to the chair. So stand up straight first. No struggle in this pose. Just get breathable here. Steady. Get extra ground, extra chair or wall. You know, that term ground is a really interesting term in English as well as Sanskrit. Come forward. So the chair back is a ground, the floor is a ground. So think of this chair and the ground like a lightning rod needs a connection to the ground. So your brain is producing an electrical charge, and you want to see if you can take all the excess electricity and ground it. Anything that's unnecessary to maintaining this pose, send it to the ground. Now go forward into the fuller pose. Take support, if possible, under your skull. Yes, longer stance, Shaya. That helps. Now, as the pose evolves, there will be, assuming your support is adequate and your persistence is, not impatient. Not only is there a sense of a steadiness, an earthy steadiness that comes into the pose, but also an airiness, a breathability. So you get these the contrast between steady arms, legs, head, and then this elastic, breathable trunk. Connected. And then bring yourself up slowly. Use your hands. Take stages so the brain stays grounded. The current of the brain stays grounded. And come up. Bring the feet together. Be in Tadasana. So I'm picking all the cool standing poses. We're going to do one more cooling one. And you can use your chair. You can use a wall if you have it. If you don't have it, well, you either have a wall for your, everybody's got a wall for their back, I think. Is that true? Yes? No. Everybody's got a wall. Okay. So you may also have a wall for your foot. Here's the wall for my back. Here's a wall for my foot. If you've got that, take it. Now, it's hard to get it on both sides if you only have one corner. But what you do if you only have one corner is turn the corner, your own self. So I have in this corner, I have two walls. And this one is quite short. There's a doorway right here, but really all I need is for my pelvis and that toe to be grounded. Okay. So the chair is optional. You can use a brick under your hand or a chair. It's a question of stability, right? And I would just tell you that a chair is going to ground that current. The wall actually against my skull, and this whole thing underneath my forearm is pretty quiet, is pretty grounded. So now you can put your heel to the wall, or you can touch just the toes to the wall. And I would say the toes to the wall is a little bit cooler, in the sense that you can keep the length in the groin. You can adjust the space in the groin, whereas with the heel to the wall, it's like standing. So there's this firmness in the joint instead of spaciousness. That is my feeling. Now your top hand can be up in the air if the shoulder's on the wall, and it can also rest on the hip. As a rule, Chaya, we would tell you to put the hand on the hip or stretch it more or less parallel. And you could look down or you could stay facing forward. This is a question of your skull. And if that chair back is in your way, Chaya, you would just turn the chair around so the chair back is away from the wall. And your back can touch the wall, not be interfered with. Now, when you come out sideways, bending that standing leg parallel to the wall. And don't fold into an uttanasana. You just come down sideways. You just come down. You just come down sideways and turn your feet and stand there, cooling off. And you take your chair so it faces away from the wall as you're going for side two. So you can put your elbow on it, and even your fingers can hold this outside edge of the chair seat, and that gives you more ground. So you just look for ground wherever it's comfy. If you have very short arms, you may unhook from the back and take your elbow toward the wall. Now, Emilia, are you facing the wall? That is very fine if you do. Now, I will say, facing away from the wall is the way to keep this front body and the organic body cool. We're gonna, and that's the reason I picked it first. Because physically, this is the hot place of us. Release, come out. Bend the knee in the direction the foot's pointed and just come out, tipping sideways. Now, everybody is gonna turn around. And I'm gonna show you here on this wall. So you can see, if you see this, this is me touching the wall. But when I get into Ardha Chandrasana, see how far I am from the wall. See that space there? This is not an optical illusion. This is a foot or so distance, 12 inches between me and the wall. This foot touches the wall. It might touch the wall I'm facing, but nothing else does. I've got a hand and a foot and a hand and a foot grounding. And I just do my Ardha Chandrasana with the back away from the wall and see if you can do smoothing and cooling of the spine. See how it's different. I believe it will be. It's just a question of figuring out what you're feeling. Now you can go back, heel to the wall or toes. Now in this position, with the belly facing the wall, but heat up or feel confined, not like a belly down back bend, but the back feels much freer. Well, I hope I'm not projecting. I hope I'm explaining something about what you experience. My hope is that you will have more space in the spine all the way down to the tailbone, to the skull. Release, come out, bend the knees, step sideways, stay facing the wall, coming up. And you be in Tadasana for a few moments. Just get yourself straight, symmetrical, and then change sides. Last side. And you know, if something's especially difficult, you can come out. You can wait and work to see it through, or you can come out if something's going wrong. Now, Chaya, you need to straighten yourself out. You are looking like, I'll show you. You're looking like, let's see, you're in a forward bend. So your chair needs, your elbow needs to get in line with your foot. You need to, you see how it's straightening out. Don't be folded. This buttock, this freedom in the spine should make that standing buttock go back and your chest come forward. Yeah. Good. If you could raise that left foot, that'd be fantastic. And touch your toes to the wall. Straight in, heel straight away, toes straight forward. Use the ground through the arms and legs to drain the nervous energy. And breathe. And exhale, come out, bend the knee, stay facing the same direction, stand up, feet apart. It is quite possible you are sweating, even though we've been working at, this moderate pace, intending to stay cool. That's okay. All right. Prasarita, no, I'm gonna, well, yes, but we're gonna change it. Prasarita Padottanasana, feet wide apart, and you fold forward. Watch, see, I'm gonna change things. You go forward. Now, if you're quite stiff, you will have bricks under your hands. So you can create some length in your pose. So if you could take your hands to the floor comfortably, do that. Now, Parshva Prasarita Padottanasana. Okay, and then the other way, the hips could stay touching a wall. They need to stay steady as you go from one side to the other. So putting your back to the wall, feet slightly away, or finding another way of measuring, that'll work, Vicky, keeping track. Make sure your feet are away from the wall or whatever you're close to. Fold forward all the way, hands to the floor, and keep your buttocks, legs vertical, heels to buttocks. Stretch your trunk forward. Elongate the spine. Use bricks if it helps. Don't reach forward with the hips. Elongate the trunk. Stretch the arms. Stretch the arms. So it's somewhere between Adho Mukha Svanasana and Prasarita Padottanasana. Now, march your hands carefully toward your right side. But make an arc toward the foot. You should avoid going all the way to the foot. Don't put a crimp in the right hip, right low back. Breathe. This is open the left side. Study the left leg. Study the grounding through from the left hip to the left heel. And then come back to the center. the hands bit by bit. Get there in the middle, be there briefly so you recognize the middle, and then go left. Further in the recognition department, recognize your asymmetries. One hip tighter than the other. One set of ribs or side waist tighter. Just notice. Don't be pushy. When you run into something that stirs up the nervous system, let's see, stay near that thing that's disturbing you, but work to drain the disturbance from it. Give it a ground. Go back to the center. Now, if you could, take your head down to the floor as if like in headstand or complete Prasarda Padottanasana. Please do. If you need to get a brick or a chair for your head, do that. Just a minute or so. Keep your legs working. You're doing so. No, Vicky, you bend your elbows and come in like Prasarda Padottanasana. Like Shirshasana 2, palms on the floor, head on the brick or the floor. Now, often the neck and throat and shoulders are not clear on what to do here. Lift your sacrum so the spine is in whatever round shape it's in. See that that round shape is long. Don't flatten or try to straighten your spine. Just release it from the pelvis. Lift your shoulders. Soften the throat. Broaden the shoulders so that once again, the extension of the arms to the hands spreads the neck and lengthens the neck away from the skull toward the ground through the hands. It's only the skull that goes to the ground right there at the sticking out of the brick. Only the skull. From the skull down the neck, from the anchor of the skull down the neck, there is a ground to the hands, a ground to the feet. The dividing place for those two directions is the base of the skull, not the base of the neck. Slowly straighten your arms so you're coming up, straight armed. If you need to, move those feet heel toe closer together. Wait for a bit. Once you're in a more comfortable forward bend, don't join the feet unless you're sure of your coolness. Inhale, come up. And bring your feet together and be in Tadasana as for meditation. Feet slightly apart. I mean, I beg your pardon. You are free to join your feet together if you're cool. You know, if you're just freestanding and you don't have a wall to ground the hands, ground them on the hips. It's kind of the same thing. You're taking this energy and you're communicating it. You're not letting it potentially bunch back up. Okay, now a chair. A blanket or two or three if you're stiff, as many as you need. And I'd say a blanket or a bolster or something to pad the chair seat. So if seated forward bends are difficult for you, you may choose to add a height to this chair seat because we're going into Janu Shirshasana. And the first thing I'm looking for is this upward extension. So something that's happening that is helping me is putting, do you see my foot against this chair back? Many people have a rung across the chair back. If you're missing this rung, you move the chair so your foot presses against the chair. I'll do it this way, against the chair leg. So it has a little brace, but the chair rung is what we usually take, except very small people whose toes don't go. So this is my right leg, and I'm starting out with 2 feet, guess what, apart. Here's me on that chair seat. You can just see my toes here. Feet are inside the chair legs, but the width of the chair seat. So Vicky, widen your feet. So that's right. This is the sitting position. Chaya, feet out there. Yeah, knees out. No, sorry, I don't mean that. Inside the chair legs. Beg your pardon. But those feet wide, yes, and upright. Yeah, the light is funny, I couldn't see. Now, to do this pose, the legs come together, so your left leg is more or less centered, and bend your right knee. I'm going to face you without the chair, so you can, well, I'm going to back up some more so you can see those feet. Okay. So my feet were together, were apart at first, and I brought them together. So this leg is, in theory, right now in line with your hip, but it's away from the edge of the chair seat. So move it back out there now, just so you feel the difference. It's your right leg, so move that left leg wide. That's for cooling. This is literally putting your leg against the heel and heel against the perineum and keeping the compaction here. This is to generate in a subtle way, subtle energy and lift it up. This is a generator. This wide pose is, relatively speaking, in these terms, cooler. Go to the chair seat, and with your arms straight and pressing down on the chair, lift your trunk. Now, if you are stiff, sorry, I'm closing off the view here a bit, then you come up higher, you give some support so you really can lift that chest. Now your foot goes to the rung or the chair leg and presses slightly against it. Every time you make an effort with those legs, right leg, every time you make an effort, it creates or can create a disturbance. So when you increase the stretch of this leg, watch the binding of the breath, keep the activity, that's the disturbance, but undisturb the breath, maintain the activity. Reach out through the right leg, reach out through the right foot. Keep your buttocks descending even as the spine ascends. Come forward, arms on the top of the chair, and the head rests on your bolster, the chair seat. So with the arms on the top of the chair, the armpits, the side ribs stay open. Avoid clutching with hard fingers. Avoid clutching the chair back, chair top. See if there is a way of being a bit more open-handed with the extension. So Cliff, if those arms could come up higher, if they could come up to the top of the chair, if that were possible without shoulder pain. Armpits open. Breathing, connecting. Drain the excess energy from the system. Now slowly come up. Stretch both legs, feet apart on the chair. And in between side one and side two, you're going to take a symmetrical position on the chair seat. And then on the chair back. And I'll show from the side. If possible, the chin might rest on the chair. Which might allow you to keep the eyes open and the brain quiet. Not sure. So it's a choice, head down, forehead resting or chin resting. Sometimes it's function of, is it just too much pinch on the neck? It's a structural thing. Now, come up and side two. Sit up straight. Join those legs. So you start from centered symmetry. Take that left knee out to the side. And then after you from symmetry, take the left knee out to the side, take your right leg to the edge of that chair. Right, so you've opened the pose up again for groin space. And hands on the floor, hands on the chair seat, so you have quietness here and an extra ground. And then you come up to the chair back. And that raising of the arms should come with a release of energy from the skull, not a gathering. Go away from the skull with those arms. And as we spoke at the beginning of class, the eyelid skin softens to lower the eye. The skin of the back softens to release that muscle. Smooth out the skin of the back of the neck, back of the shoulders. And come up. And stretch both legs and take both feet out to the edge of the chair seat. Be there for a second. And then, if the flexibility is good, take the legs outside the chair legs. Upavishta Konasana. Now, I took this bolster off here so you could just see me, but you can put blankets, bolsters back. Chair comes in close so you can just sit up straight like you're propping yourself up at the counter. Then you begin to come forward. And I can come forward here. Oh, and by the way, some of you with flexibility, feel free to sit on the floor, coming off your blankets if you really do fold forward. And it is easy for you to keep this pelvis. You can sit lower. Anyway, you go forward, but not up beyond the forehead on the chair. But that chair can go pretty far forward and it'll support your upper arms and forehead. There are those who can go comfortably to a bolster or the floor. If that is true for you, good. And you may go. Head, chest, to a bolster, to a blanket, to the floor. Don't exceed your capacity, because that will cause a buildup of unnecessary energy in the form of thought or muscle tension. Keep the energy of the body flowing easily toward the tail and toward the extremities, away from the spine. So this is not like opening the circuits and draining the system of all its power. The breath is a constant renewal. And the sensation you have of the flow of energy is more the sensation of the passageways being open. So there's no place that energy is clumping up. The exhalation and inhalation tell you everything you need to know. Come up, please, slowly. Help your legs together. Take a bolster for under your spine. Take either another bolster or some stacked blankets to support your feet. That's what I'm doing here, just making a little stack. This is setu banta. So you may also, and I'll tell you, this is extra cooling, to put your feet in a strap that's wide, that allows your feet to be as wide, let's say, as those blankets, right? So pretty wide space. And the feet go out on the floor, and my shirt and whatever necklaces, jewelry, bangles you have around your neck, they release, you lie down. You coil off that bolster till the very shoulder tops come to the floor. And then stay with it. You see this, my feet are in the strap, not ankles, feet. Close to the ankle, but still foot. And that is what is keeping my legs relaxed. No bunching of energy anywhere in the leg or in the hip. That leg can just flow and the spine can extend. That's the theory. And the brain stays quiet. Now, I hope your low back is comfortable. Go back with your knees bent, not straight. Only straighten them after that spine comes to the floor. Top shoulders. Let your arms extend away from the spine, away from the skull. See that the spinal compartment is breathing. So exhalation releases heat, not just carbon dioxide, but actual body heat. Your exhalation is moist and warm, and your body temperature. Breathe through your nose. Interestingly, your nose has the capacity to retain some, but not all of the moisture, certainly way better than your mouth does. Your nose, speaking of the time of COVID, your nose also keeps more of that particulate matter, that aerosolized, that vapor, keeps more of it than your mouth does. When you speak or breathe through your mouth, you produce much more vapor. So your nose is a filter going in and out. It is not a complete filter. Do not mistake what I just said as don't need to wear a mask. You do. Chronically, however, the nose releases heat and retains moisture. The mouth loses heat and moisture. Now it's time to come out. So please prepare yourself. Work in sync with your breathing. Hips come up, bolster slides out. You lie flat. Now you can support your knees if you like, or your head. You can also put your bolster across your thighs. That's another, again, neurological cooling thing. But I will tell you, if you're very hot, putting a bolster across your thighs isn't necessarily cooling. Sometimes you just need air. Shoulders on the floor, whoever you are, that neck support, head support should not lift that top shoulder blade off the floor. Shouldn't roll your collarbones towards your sternum. Collarbones lifted. Now, it's the end of class. As you know, it's one of my favorite things to do, to leave you in Shavasana, turn off the camera and let you be. So if you are staying put, just stay put. If you need to keep the schedule and come out, now is the time. And I will say namaskar. And I hope you stay cool.